Yeah, thanks for the question, and thanks for the continued support. One of the people who likes nearly all of my videos, so huge thanks for that. So 2 questions here. How do you scale up from 4 to 6 properties to a super portfolio? And that's anything from really 50 plus, I would say. And then how do you manage investors and get involved, and how does all that work? Well, that's one question, but that's a huge kettle of fish, one I could talk for days about, and one that you need multiple areas of expertise and professionals in your corner. So let's deal with the easy one first. Like any business, when you find something that works in a niche and you're the best middleman that you can be in that particular market, you just go for it. You just take no prisoners and you just ramp it up, and it becomes a massive numbers game. So for me, in 2010 to 2013, I realized that I could buy houses in a secondary location next to the university, and I could convert them quite easily to nice 4 or 5 bed student houses with 2 to 3 bathrooms, but they were more modern houses. And what was being offered in that market were pieces of shit Victorian terraces with poor heating and no double glazing and curtains dividing rooms and all that sort of stuff. So the gap in the market at the time was a modern house in a secondary location which had a great bus route, which I could charge the same amount for but offer a better product. And the distance didn't seem to be that much of an issue with the target market, the students. And what happened is, when I ran out of money, I reluctantly took it to an investor, and I didn't really want to share what I'd achieved, this sort of hidden secret in the market, and I didn't want to share the profit. But I had a decision to make, and it was either work with an investor and do the deal, or don't do the deal and someone else will pick it up. So I decided to work with the investor, and I realized that the seamless process to buying the property as well as bringing the investor to the deal was a great business model, and it made me the best middleman in that particular niche. So I just went on a buying spree as if I had an unlimited pot of cash. Every deal that was coming up or was going to come up came to me first in that local market. And I went from buying like literally 1 house a year to my first year buying 37 with investors. That was 2015. Second year, we got to 68 new houses, so 68 additional purchases in that 1 year. And that's like 1.5 a week, an absolute monster we created. And it was all just hitting that market that we knew, using a really simple methodology and formula to go and buy. And you can do that without investors. But what I've learned now is to pick and choose my deals. Instead of doing 50 deals a year, I'll do maybe 15, because the same amount of effort and time and cash and builders that I use to do one deal, if I do multiple deals, then I have to then delay them or bring in additional people. And I want an easy life these days, so I don't tend to do more deals than I can manage with my own team, and that way I'm able to then be a bit more picky and choosy with the deals that I do. So hopefully that answers your question, but find a really simple model that works and then ramp it up. How do you manage investors involved and all that works? I mean, this is hugely FCA compliant territory, and I've spent tens of thousands of pounds on lawyers, some bad, some good, barristers, some specialists. I ended up engaging a guy who writes terms and conditions for crowdfunding platforms. That's how detailed I got with working with investors. And to share was keep one investor to one deal and structure it like you would a company. So have a shareholders agreement, which doubles up as a joint venture agreement. We would call them single joint venture agreements. And that enables you to remain outside of what was the rules sort of back in 2016 of FCA compliant territories. You're not bringing multiple investors to one deal who don't know each other. You're not bringing multiple funds from different parties to one deal. You're not pooling funds together. Keep one deal for one investor, really simple. I personally think that fixed rate of return is a better structure for both parties, and that comes from with 150 plus joint ventures experience. The reason why I say I prefer that is when I started ramping things up with investors, things were changing and moving so quickly in the market. Governments were changing, bringing in new legislations, which were having a knock-on effect to the national market. Then locally, things were happening, which were having an impact on my local market, my personal market. And, you know, I gave you an example of secondary locations, newer houses. That quickly changed 2 or 3 times to quickly shift with market conditions. And when you have an investor on board, if you've got one really good one out of the 10 that you're probably working with, they'll leave you to get on with it. But a lot of them want to be involved, and rightly so, it's their money. Sometimes when they want to be involved, they don't have the experience. When you have to shift and change things along the lines, it puts doubt in their mind, and it can create some tension within the joint venture, because a joint venture model is typically 50-50 profit split. But if you offer them a fixed rate of return, you can do what you want with those deals. And if you know the market as well as I do, and you are right at the front of the market, you're the market leader, then you should be chopping and changing when the opportunity comes up. That's what makes you the best in your particular sector. And having a noose around your neck, which some investors can do in a 50-50 joint venture model, can be quite restrictive. And I've had examples where investors were just insistent on putting the properties on the market because Donald Trump had come into power. And I categorically told them that we were going to lose about £120,000 based on the increase projections that I was putting forward over the next couple of years. And I had one investor, she literally went behind my back and listed it on the open market. And it was because I knew the agent that came to me, and I had a decision to make. Do I sever the relationship of 4 or 5 really successful joint ventures with her to prove my point, to make her a lot more money, or do I just allow that property to be sold, which she needed my sign off because we had all of the legal documents in place because I got the right advice, and just allow her to take a small profit, but to do then videos for years to come saying I told you so. We chose the latter, and that's what I now continue to do. I use it as a great example of successful joint ventures where she was so worried about Donald Trump coming in that she panicked, and I told her that we shouldn't sell, we need to hold. And she went behind my back, listed it with an agent. The agent told me personally, but legally she couldn't list it without my signature. But I made the tough decision to swallow my pride and to do what the investor wanted, even though I told her that it was the wrong thing. So hopefully that answers your questions.